Hey, this is Joe Sanfilippo. You're listening to the GeekCast Radio Network.
Good brain here. I like listening to ToonCast while trying to take over the world.
Beyond good, beyond evil, beyond your wildest imagination.
Hello and welcome to ToonCast. This is episode 248. I'm, of course, TFG1Mike. We are continuing on the ToonCast Origins here on the GeekCast Radio Network. Joining me this time around is someone I've actually already talked to, but you folks won't hear that conversation until the middle of April. So it is Marty Stokes, a.k.a. the other Radiant Matt from Radiant Black and all that other good stuff that he does. It is Marty Stokes. You are here and you are talking cartoons this time.
What's going on?
It's not much. Thankfully, we were able to revive that other recording that people will hear in the future from the dead, because that was one weird week. So we have 30 questions here at ToonCast Origins, and to kick it off, did you grow up watching cartoons, and what were some of your earliest cartoon memories?
Yeah, I watched a ton of cartoons, and it was funny, we were talking a little bit about this before we started recording, because there was one in particular that I couldn't remember. Exo
You'll
Squad.
never forget Exo
and
Squad
now I'll
again.
never forget. Yeah. And I just remember that was like ended up being an early morning cartoon, like before school. And if you got up early enough, like it was a combination of like that and Gargoyles and Beast Wars Transformers or the regular Transformers. And you know, if you played your cards right, you could get up early enough and hit like 2, 3, sometimes 4 of them before, you know, the bus came and picked you up. So those were some that I remember watching a lot, especially when we had to get up early to make sure like the parents could go to work and all that jazz. But yeah, I definitely grew up watching those, and I grew up watching a ton of other stuff too, like after school or like on the weekends. And then, yeah, I even watch some now, but it's a little bit different, different type of watching.
Well, true. I mean, you know, you got to make sure it's safe for your kids to watch the cartoons, but that's a whole other discussion. What cartoons were you watching most as a kid? Were you a Saturday morning consumer or an after-school consumer or both?
So, yeah, it depended. It really kind of depended on when, but yeah, it was a little bit of both. Watched a little bit in the morning and then in the afternoon, depending upon when, and then it was even, you know, on the weekends. On Saturday usually was the day.
Right, absolutely. What was your number one favorite cartoon as a kid?
That's a loaded question.
Exo Squad, right? It was your number one. You loved it so much you forgot all about it.
I couldn't remember the frickin' name.
Bingo. Yeah, we're dealing with a real mind here.
I mean, I loved like TMNT. I loved Darkwing Duck. Like Gundam was really good. I watched a little bit of Pokemon. I remember watching Captain Planet.
We need help.
You mean...
Exactly. We must do as Gaia advised. We must combine our powers. Let's do it. Let our powers combine. Earth. Fire.
Wind. Water.
Heart.
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet.
And I actually was Captain Planet for Halloween when I was younger.
Wow.
Yeah, my mom made, you know how your parents made the costumes and stuff like that. And she made the whole costume and get up, and I painted my body blue and spiked my hair up and, you know, colored it green. Like I was legit Captain Planet, but watched a ton of that. He-Man, of course, Darkwing Duck, Mighty Ducks, DuckTales, Tailspin, Chippendales.
No, not that Chippendales, folks. The other one, the Chipmunks, not the ones with poles.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. No. All of those 90s. Oh man. Whew.
Yeah, that was my jam back then.
The more like when we transitioned out of the 80s into the 90s, it was like cartoons on something.
Steroids. Yeah, it was great.
As everywhere. Yep, absolutely. What are some other cartoons you like? Do you have a favorite cartoon genre or type?
You know, it was weird because like right around that time, they started switching from the traditional cartoons. So like you think of traditional cartoons, like kind of Darkwing Duck, like the very comic-y ones, to the ones that were kind of computer generated. Like you think of Reboot, right? Reboot was like very CGI-esque, where they were making characters kind of more like a video game.
It was one of the first CGI tunes, I believe.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I haven't rewatched like a lot of what I'm talking about now, but being able to see like the original cartoon stuff, like even X-Men, right? The original, or the X-Men cartoon is still solid. Like I got to go back and give that a rewatch, because that I remember being wicked good when I was a kid. But I actually preferred, that style of cartoons over the actual kind of CGI type cartoons, because like if I'm gonna watch a CGI type cartoon, I'd rather just watch like a Pixar movie. You look at like Big Hero 6, right? That was pretty sweet. A pretty sweet movie, or any of the other Pixar movies that have come out. Yeah. If I want to watch that type of show, I'd watch that. I like the drawn cartoons. I mean, you look at Invincible, friggin' amazing
it
cartoon.
Is amazing.
And what they did with it. And then you look at like all the storyboards coming back. Like I love that show. I mean, and we talked about that, which these guys will, whoever listens to this and listens to my other one will hear all about Invincible, because I talk a bunch about that. But like, that's what got me back into comics. So like that's kind of near and dear to my heart. But yeah, I like the traditional style much better.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that really depends on the era you grew up in. Like, it just depends. Like, there are a lot of people now that are not our age, that are younger than us, people that are in their 20s and 30s and things like that. But a lot of people that I've come across on YouTube and stuff like that are in their 20s are like, oh, here's and I don't want to make this a big thing, but here's a Funko Pop of this thing that was something before. And I'm like, yeah, that was the 94 or the 94 Spider-Man animated. Oh, there was a cartoon about this? I didn't even know that. And I'm just like, oh my, I'm like holding my hand in my hands. I'm like, oh God, you were way too young.
Yeah, that's another one.
Way too. Yeah.
Spider-Man's another one. Hell yeah. And then they have like Spider-Man Kids. My daughter loves that show, the Spider-Man Kids on Disney Plus or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah. It's way different though, because like it's almost like a Spider-Verse show, because Gwen and Stacy and the traditional Spider-Man and Miles is in there. It's just weird. Yep. Like I don't know. I can't get my head around it. Yeah, Spidey's Amazing Friends is what it's called.
What flavor ice cream would you like? You know my favorite flavor. Cherry vanilla, please.
Chocolate chip is my fave.
Pistachio, please.
Ooh, those are all delicious. I'll be back in a jiff. Thanks, Aunt May. We can't wait. Right?
Yep. By the way, chocolate chip is way better than cherry vanilla or pistachio.
What? Pistachio is the best.
Chocolate chip.
Pistachio.
Hey, time out. You don't need to fight about it, because everybody knows cherry vanilla is the best. Uh-oh.
The Spidey alert!
That means trouble in the neighborhood.
The funny thing is, it's funny you mentioned that show, is because I think I know several, or at least one of the, everybody knows D. Bradley Baker, but
right,
there was somebody else on that show that I thought I knew. I mean, Carrie Walgren, obviously, but anyway, that's a discussion for another time. How did your cartoon watching habits change as you grew up and throughout your life?
Yeah, so I think it really started, kind of on the weekends, on Saturday morning. We watched like Captain Planet, or an hour or something of cartoons after breakfast or before breakfast or whatever, and then it ended up transitioning into, because my parents had to get up early to work, we ended up going over a friend's house before to catch the bus, and that's when we started watching them early in the morning. And then we got off the bus and went to their house, so we watched a little bit of cartoons before we went out to play. And then like now it's it's, watching with my kids for the most part, like introducing them to Darkwing Duck and Chippendales and Scooby-Doo and Tailspin. Like, Disney Plus is great for that because all those cartoons are on there, and it's kind of like nostalgia, sitting down and watching. So I was like, hey, you got to watch this. And then like, of course they pull me into some of them, like Bluey. I fucking love Bluey. It pulls at my heartstrings, man, because like, it's like, and it's funny because there's a couple of people on Twitter that I interact with that are parents that love Bluey too. And we're just throwing Bluey memes every now and again, but like certain parts of the show, like, end up making it their way to dinner table conversations, or like just screwing around with the, at home. It's just a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I forget, besides the famous people that are in Spidey and His Amazing Friends, I know Gwen Stacy's father.
Oh, really?
So Lily Sanfilippo voices Gwen Stacy in Spidey and His Amazing Friends on Disney Plus.
Yep.
Her dad is Joe Sanfilippo, and I've actually interviewed the guy. I'm like, wait a minute, I know there was a reason why. Besides the fact that Disney Plus obviously throws, their banners up in your face all the time, I'm like, I knew there was a different reason why I know Spidey and His Amazing Friends, and I'm like, all right. It's Joe's daughter in the show as Gwen. That's awesome. All right. We talked about this before the recording, too. How often do you go back and rewatch any of the cartoons you grew up with? Apparently, you don't do it much because you don't even remember your favorite one.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it was. I don't know if Exo Squad was necessarily my favorite one. It was the one that,
True.
When you
had
told
robot
me,
suits.
Yeah, it was like they had fucking robot suits, and it was just So I guess it depends, right? A lot of the stuff that I'm rewatching now, I'm rewatching with my kids. Like I said, like Darkwing Duck, TMNT, Scooby-Doo, DuckTales, Tailspin, Chippendales, stuff like that. We haven't really gotten to Pokemon yet, but I know my oldest likes the cards, so I'm sure at some point we'll get into that.
Let's get dangerous.
I mean, the only thing that I can remember rewatching that I've watched recently is Invincible. I've watched that a couple times. But I really do have to. It's crazy, like with the streaming session, like the streaming services that are available, it makes it really hard almost at times to go. Like, I have such a backlog of shows that I want to watch that I haven't watched yet, or, being newer to the comic book scene, right? I have a ton of backlog there. It's just like, right now I'm on a pretty big reading kick. Like on Twitter, I started, following suit with a couple of my buddies that are doing the comic book challenge, and they just set a goal for themselves. So I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll do it too. So I'm kind of on a reading kick right now, and, posting what comic books that I've read so far, and kind of be fun to do that for like cartoons too, and shows and rewatching. But there's just so much shit out there that it's really hard to, and especially me with, with a family and 2 kids, right? I'm constantly on the go. So it's really hard to dedicate the time and do that.
Yep.
I got to pick and choose.
Absolutely. So do you remember the cartoons from your childhood that held up the best or the worst?
I think, with watching them with my kids, like DuckTales, Tailspin, Chippendales, Rescue Rangers, like those are the ones. Scooby-Doo even. Scooby-Doo is like, it's just goofy funny, right? I remember I used to love that show, and I used to laugh a lot, and I used to love the mystery behind it. But it's older, you kind of see everything coming a mile away. But it's still fun. It's still fun.
It's always Old Man Johnson.
Yeah,
he's always the one.
Yeah.
All as I ever remember is it's on Boomerang. On the Boomerang app. It's a pup named Scooby-Doo, which is when they were all kids and Scooby was a puppy.
Yep.
Show that to your kids and see what they think, because I think that's more, I don't know. Some of those adult stories, even though they were formulaic as hell, I don't know, man. It's just strange. So you've already mentioned Invincible, but what other cartoons that aired while you were an adult have you liked the most?
Invincible is the first one that comes to mind. I can't think of anything that's come out recently that I've watched from a cartoons wide. I think everything that I've seen either with the kids has been older.
Are there cartoons you hate or have been greatly disappointed by?
There are some cartoons that I like more than others.
Right.
But so some of the newer, I guess it really depended on my mood, right? Because I'm even thinking back to what was on Nickelodeon, right? So you had Ah Real Monsters, you had Rugrats, you had Hey Arnold, those type of shows. You had Ren and Stimpy. So Ren and Stimpy, I was really, Beavis and Butthead. Ren and Stimpy, I was hit or miss on. There was some stuff that was okay. The Angry Beavers, I remember watching that show too. And I remember my brother really into the Angry Beavers show, and I always remember there were certain episodes that I liked, but there's certain episodes that I found super annoying.
Yeah.
So it kind of it really just depended on I guess my mood or maybe it was just who I was watching it with. But I don't know. Me and my brother just always had a rival when we were watching stuff. He's like, oh no, I'm picking what we're watching this time. And then he picked something and you just hate it out of spite. Right. But I remember Angry Beavers was the one that was there were some episodes that were good, but there's some that were just annoying to me anyways when I was littler.
Yeah.
So.
In the 90s, man, I everything completely switched for me. Because I've said this before on this show recently and on other shows that in the 80s, from 82 to 87, you had a good 5-year stretch of where whatever cartoon you were watching, you could then go on to the net. 82 was G.I. Joe, 83 was He-Man, 84 was Transformers, 85 was Thundercats, 86 was Silverhawks, 87 was TMNT. And so on and so forth, where you had this constant stream of going from one to the other and not necessarily having to choose between things. Where in the 90s, you have Batman the Animated Series, you have X-Men, you have Spider-Man, and granted, X-Men and Spider-Man were 2 years apart, but you also have this other all these other things happening, and it's for me, everything in the 90s switched to almost superheroes until Beast Wars hit in 96. From 90 to 92 was the Disney animation, the Disney afternoon, all that. And then once Batman and X-Men hit, it was all superheroes up until 1996 or so when I found Beast Wars.
Yeah.
All right.
Just before we go, to the next one, just to get back at that question, a couple other cartoons that I kind of just doing a quick Google search because I try to remember them all. I started watching Arcane. That came out last year. It's pretty good, but I just haven't picked it back up. Rick and Morty is something that I've seen all seasons of. I fucking love Rick and Morty. I have to finish watching season 5 now that it dropped on HBO, but that show is just I majored, we talked about this on the other episode, right? I majored in math and physics. So I like the whole physics, time travel, dimension hopping and all that shit. And then there was the Solar Opposites, kind of was a Rick and Morty spinoff. It's pretty good. Not as good as Rick and Morty. Right. And then this is probably a hot take, but I started watching Modunk and I couldn't finish it. I gave it. I was it just wasn't for me. I think I tried to force myself to watch the whole thing, and I maybe got 2/3 of the way through, but I know a lot of people rave about it, but Yeah. That was kind of my flavor of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's that whole thing with your, for what it's worth, or your mileage will vary, or, all these internet terms that now, people use acronyms for blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It is what it is. I mean, so a lot of the, what I've found now in the last, let's say, decade and a half or so, all of my cartoon watching is mostly for podcasting, but all of my modern cartoon watching is franchise-based. It's either Transformers or He-Man or Star Wars or whatever. It's not really like, oh, here's the next new blah, blah, blah that isn't just a Huckleberry Hound rehash.
Have you watched Harley Quinn? Everybody keeps talking about watching Harley Quinn, and it's got 2 seasons, but I've never picked it up, but I was thinking about maybe
I've never
giving that a whirl.
Well, yeah, I haven't had HBO Max until recently,
Gotcha.
so never really. I know it originally was on the DC thing, and then obviously we had the whole merger, and apparently we're going to have a whole other merger happen because now Warner and Discovery, and so I don't know where any of that stuff, and I don't want to get into a philosophical debate over the fact that Disney and or Warner Brothers owns everything on either side of animation, but
they really do.
I mean, they really do, but it's like, oh, it makes my head hurt. All right, who is your end-all, be-all favorite cartoon character from any cartoon? You can pick a hero or a villain, or both.
Oh, God. That's such a hard question. I've named so many cartoons. I can't pick one. You know what? Here, fuck it. The first thing that comes to mind is I don't know why, but Darkwing Duck. Just I don't know why, but that was the first cartoon that I pictured.
Let's get dangerous.
And so I'm gonna go with that one. With us talking about all these things, I fucking love Darkwing Duck. He always seems to, figure a way out, and in the most unrealistic way possible, and kind of just lucks into it half the time.
Well, yeah, I mean, he is the less intelligent.
Yeah.
I mean, he's smart, but like you said, half of Darkwing's, I can't believe some of the villains. I love all of his villains, but how he finally does get to outsmart them is great, but
yeah,
getting Darkwing to realize how he can outsmart the villains is the fun part.
Yeah.
And the funny part is how he does it, but the thing of it is that journey where you see and you hear creak, you hear the brain modules and the inside of his head, like trying to figure it out. And then obviously you have Goslin and Launchpad and everybody like that. Who are some other cartoon characters you like? Are there any you hate?
I mean, I love Chip from Chip and Dale's.
Then we'll scare him away, just like Sherlock Jones did in The Adventure of the Ghoul Next Door.
Just Scooby-Doo and Shaggy. Well, even Scrappy. I think Scrappy was my favorite, just because he was ridiculous.
Like that monster doesn't look incapable of anything.
Oh, a sneak attack, eh? I gotta warn you, you're dealing with Scrappy Doo.
and I'm going nostalgic characters, right?
I know, but
yeah, it's just Scrappy was so funny. So
you are the only person besides me that will defend Scrappy Doo. You're the only person I know currently in the 14 years that I have been podcasting that will defend the cartoon character of Scrappy Doo.
What's wrong with Scrappy? What's everyone's beef about him?
It's the annoying kid character. Oh, the live-action movie made him the villain because he's so horrible. And I'm looking at it like, Scrappy helped me defeat bullies. Scrappy helped me stand up for myself. Without, puppy power, I don't know where I'd be now.
That's more like it.
Snake demon? What's the good news?
That is the good news. The bad news is that all images of the demon are cursed.
Cursed? Worst?
Oh, yeah? Well, my Uncle Scooby can handle any old snake demon, and he'll just get a hold of you, take it, bite you, and snap you.
Yeah, though the first thing that comes to mind is he's always like, let me at him.
Let me at him. That's right.
And he was always the one that figured shit out. He was always leading his Uncle Scooby into the right way and helping him out. I remember when they introduced that character, I was like, oh, this show has just took on another cool little level, you know? Because Scooby was, Scooby and Shaggy were always the ones that were, hiding in the corner and had to do shit for Scooby snacks. And
yeah, I mean, Scrappy didn't need no damn Scooby snack because Scrappy actually was written to be brave, and it's the complete opposite of Scooby and Shaggy, which makes it work, I think. And everyone's like, oh, he's just the annoying. There are a lot of annoying kid characters in 80s cartoons. There's Spike from Transform. Spike isn't that annoying, but there's, he had his son Daniel. There's Scott from Mask. Oh, God. Scott and T-Bob from Mask. I know T-Bob's a robot. I don't care. There can be annoying robots. But there are so many other annoying kid characters. Like, I know Snarf was a nursemaid in Thundercats, but come on. He was annoying at times and whatever. Scrappy's not that bad. Like, seriously, people, get over it. Scrappy... If a cartoon character can teach me as a child of the 80s to stand up for myself and believe in myself, then the cartoon character, no matter who it is, can't be that damn bad.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree.
And like I said, yeah, you're right. I mean, Scooby and Shaggy, they're always eating, they're always running away, and they're always, keeping up their metabolisms and whatever. The only time I don't mind Scooby doing things for Scooby snacks is in A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, because it's just so funny. It's just hilarious.
Come on, Scoob! Not me! I'm scared! Scooby's like chickening out. He won't budge.
I bet I could change his mind with a Scooby snack.
Scooby snack?
Catch!
Yum, yum, yum. Give him 2 Scooby snacks and he orbits the Earth.
Who are some of your favorite cartoon voices and voice actors?
Oh, man. I gotta look some of these up. I don't even. Oh my god! Honestly, I don't even know. I can't even. I'm gonna have to I mean, Seth MacFarlane obviously comes to mind, right? He voices everything, a ton of crap. I grew up watching a bunch of his shows, with Family Guy, and I thought that whole Family Guy. I haven't watched Family Guy recently, but
I've tried and I can't.
I think
I tried when it aired, and I tried recently, and they're all so annoying to me.
Yeah. I think I stopped watching maybe after the 4th or the 5th season, and
God, I couldn't even make it through. I made it through the first 10 minutes of the first episode of season 1, and I'm like, nope, done.
I'll have to say, the voice acting in Invincible, not to bring up Invincible again, but is pretty crazy. With J.K. Simmons.
Yeah,
him in general, he in general is just such an incredible actor when it comes to either voicing cartoon or just being in a normal, a normal role. It's very versatile when it comes to that, and so I think he definitely needs to be called out for sure. But that whole voice cast in Invincible is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, JK has always been an amazing person and an amazing actor. And you even have even in this, you could just go to the Invincible IMDb full cast and crew page and you pull up amazing voice actors that have done a bunch of other things. Kevin Michael Richardson, Greg Griffin, used to be Greg Delisle. Yeah. Seth Rogen's more of a...
Yeah, and I kind of said that on purpose, right? Some people hate him as Alan, but some people love him. So
it's not even about I don't okay. So you say Seth Rogen, and I can sit here and point out all these other people that are in this show, like
Jason Mantzoukas is my favorite. Yep. And Resurrect Explode, like that's my he is fucking hilarious, and he's the perfect person for that.
I mean, character. You got Kari Payton in here, you've got Mark Hamill, you've got Ross Marquand, you got Clancy Brown, you got Fred Tatasciore, you got the friggin' Hulk. I would put the Hulk's voice over Seth Rogen any friggin' day. Sorry, Seth Rogen, but like seriously, like I mean, John Hamm's in here, you know. Even Jeffrey Donovan's in it. Wow. I might have to start reading the comic and then go watch it.
You haven't read... Oh, wait.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, we haven't had that.
We talked about that.
We talked about that already, yeah.
We have talked about that, but nobody has heard it yet.
Right. Yeah. Right. You better make it a priority, man. It's so good. But I know, like everything else, right? Not enough time.
Absolutely. You got that right. All right, let's see. Did you ever own anything based on a cartoon? Toys, comics, coloring books, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, I've everything from action figures to, like, I had a ton of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle action figures. I had a bunch of the Gundam models, like that. I got into models a little bit when I was growing up. Mm-hmm. But so putting them together, they were like the snap together ones, not like anything with glue or anything like that. But it was still fun to put them together. You know, the Transformers, tons of Transformers. I fucking love Transformers. Yeah, I have a chip plush toy that I still have that my kid has. You know, my youngest has now.
Yeah.
So you know, just everything from stuffed animals to action figures, coloring books, of course, like Chip and Dale, Scooby-Doo, DuckTales, Tailspin, all that stuff, like, was fun to color. My mom would get, you know, something for me to ride in the car with and keep myself busy. Yep. You know, video games, if that counts, then, you know, video games. I remember, and you know, I'm going to date myself, but me and you are around the same age, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I remember having an old school computer with a floppy disk, a floppy disk, not a fucking plastic floppy disk, a big ass fucking floppy disk that you had to, like, in the middle of a game, pop one out and pop another one in because there wasn't enough shit on it, right?
Yep.
Playing Chip and Dale's, the Rescue Rangers game, and like the very first level was like having Chip and Dale hop in and out of these holes as like shit was coming down from like this, I don't know, like tower or something, and you had to be quick because if you weren't quick enough, like this tar or something would get you trapped in the hole, and you had to go fight these robot machines. But like I remember playing that as a kid, and you know that was before CDs. That was before, you know, that was back in the day when there were tapes and machines that were so fucking big they took up the entire desk.
Exactly.
So,
and then you have the machines where the keyboards were actually a part of the machine.
Oh yeah,
there was no wireless. Like you know, kids today with your iDevices and your Android devices and whatever. Here, take these crayons, take this coloring book. We're going on a trip. Sit there, shut up, and color. Oh, God. What is your favorite cartoon theme song?
The first thing that comes to mind is Chip and Dale's.
Sometimes some crime goes slipping through the cracks, but these two gumshoes are picking up the slack. There's no case too big, no case too small. When you need help, just call Chip and Dale, Rescue Ranger. Chip and Dale, danger. No, it never fails once they're involved. Somehow, whatever's wrong gets solved.
It's a good song.
Chip and Dales. That's the first thing that comes to mind. You know, so that and DuckTales. Woohoo. That you know, that was those are two great ones. I mean, the X-Men is a classic, but those are the first couple that come to mind. And I know it's old school, right? But
hey, it's
Darkwing Duck is good too. Darkwing Duck is solid. You know, those all have good.
How big is your animation DVD or digital collection?
Anything that I have from a streaming service is on Disney Plus or HBO Max. So all of those things. Okay. I feel like that question's more relevant before all the streaming services. But now it's just like, so I have Disney Plus, HBO Max, so everything on there.
Yeah, I mean, some of us still have DVD complete series sets because that was the biggest thing when DVD started happening 21 years. Oh, God. 21 years ago. You know, by 2003, 2004, we were getting all kinds of complete series sets for cartoons, for TV shows, for all that kind of stuff. And, and now, sadly, everything's digital.
Yeah, well, it makes it easier because, let's be honest, I mean, and we had this
it does
earlier, but like digital makes it way easier to.
I agree, but I also think specifically to completely most of the time when you get a complete series set, unless it's just, hey, let's take all I know for a fact that when they put together a certain TV set from a NBC show from 2003, when they put it as a complete series set, they're not giving you too much extra. They may give you an extra disc of bonus features, but they're not going to give you a dice box set kind of thing. Like the closest amazing thing for television DVD box sets for a TV show was Alias because it was the Rimbaldi cube. But cartoon DVD sets, they always tried at least to make them super, super special. Companies like Shout Factory and others. I mean, the 87 Turtle series comes in a turtle van. It's probably the worst DVD storage packaging you could ever hope to find as far as how the DVDs are stored inside of it. But the fact that it's a turtle van makes it okay.
Right. Yeah, the turtle van. Oh, man, I never got the turtle van, but I had like all the action figures. My neighbor always had the turtle van, so whenever we played action figures, we'd always go over to his house because he had all the like vehicles and shit.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've probably mentioned most of them already, but which cartoons had the biggest impact on your life?
I mean, some of the ones that I haven't really mentioned, right? He-Man. I remember playing He-Man as a kid. Right, and playing kind of make-believe, pretend, whatever you call it, running around with a damn sword in your hand, fighting bad guys. Even with it is crazy, like, Exo Squad comes to mind just because I thought that was such a really cool concept. And then you have, Pacific Rim and other things come out of that. Like, I feel like that kind of was, I don't know if Gundam came out after that. But I feel like that was one of the
Gundam's
first.
Been around for a while.
Yeah. Maybe not. But those type of shows like kind of really push the boundaries of like different types of things to do with people in mechs. Like those are really the first true mech shows that I can remember anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. What was the most money you spent on a cartoon item ever? DVD set, a cell, a print, or any of that kind of stuff?
Maybe $20. I mean, it wasn't anything big. It wasn't like the comic thing. Like, because here's the other thing too. Like 99% of the stuff that I got as gifts or growing up.
Right.
Like I haven't delved into action figures or recollecting of those things. It's only been kind of comics, a little bit of Funkos.
Yeah.
So I haven't, most of the stuff that I owned as a kid was bought or given to me.
Yeah.
I mean, DVDs here and there. I think I might have spent $50 on the box set of Family Guy. The first 3 or 4 seasons.
You paid too much.
I don't even remember what I paid, to be honest with you. Like, I know I have them.
Do you have my parents wouldn't let me watch that cartoon story?
Well, so Beavis and Butthead was something that
nope.
Was my parents were like, no, you're not watching this. So I ended up like having to, when I don't remember when it was, but it was definitely earlier than I should have. And, and went over my buddy's house and we kind of like snuck downstairs and like, I don't know if I think he stole a videotape from his sister and we watched it in the basement on a VCR.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on cartoon reboots? Which ones do you think have been the most successful?
I mean, if it's done right, I'm all for it, right?
Yeah.
As far as recent ones that are successful, I'm trying to think of some recent ones. Like I know, let's see. I don't even know is Teen Titans reboot?
Teen Titans Go. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. My daughter watches that show more than I do, so I can't really have a hard time with it, but, or a hard time really saying anything about it. I know that, that's right. I heard they did an Animaniacs reboot and I heard that one's south. The original one was meh for me. So I was like, yeah, it's all right. But I didn't, I never watched the reboot, but I kind of heard mixed reviews on that. But those are the two main ones that come to mind.
What is your opinion of the cartoon sidekick? I've already mentioned Snarf, Orko, Scrappy, etc. Love them, hate them, don't care either way.
I like them. Obviously liking Scrappy, right? Snarf was kind of annoying at times, but like definitely had to be there. I think they're needed, right? They provide that that additional layer that has to be had, either that sounding board for the main character or the person that kind of helps push the story along, like with Scrappy. Scrappy a lot of times was like kicking Scooby, kicking. He's like, "Let's go, Uncle Scooby," So they're needed. They're definitely needed. I know they're annoying at times, but that's part of their job. And even times where they're under the influence of the bad guy or something. You think Sonic and Tails as a prime example. Yeah. Tails is always getting in trouble and Sonic is always trying to save him. But at the end of the day, Tails is the brains of the operation. And without Tails, I don't want to say Sonic is kind of screwed, in certain aspects.
I mean, without Tails, it's just Jaleel White eating chili dogs. In your opinion, which decade represents the golden era of cartoons and why? 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, or the 2010s?
I mean, with what we've mostly been talking about, I think all the cartoons that we were talking about are like in the late 80s, 90s era. And I think that's what I grew up watching. Those are classics.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Some people view cartoons as something, quote unquote, for children, and view animation in a serious form of media that adults should consume. Who should cartoons be made for, in your opinion?
Everybody. Cartoons are made for everybody. That's a that's a no-brainer. Yeah,
exactly. That was my answer too, because you have so many cartoons over the last 100 years or more that, even stuff in the, when Looney Tunes started back in the 20s and 30s, like some of that stuff is still funny today, It is what it is.
I was just going to say a lot of the younger cartoons too are critical in the development of some of the kids. You look at Paw Patrol. Both my daughters love Paw Patrol, and I actually like watching Paw Patrol too because it's fun to see what the pups do with the machines and stuff and solve problems, and all that aspect of problem solving is learned at such a young age. Just as an example, but they're definitely for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I still have to put some sort of voice acting thing to this or whatever else, but we are now entering the cartoon fantasy land. So anything Matt says for these next 5 questions, take with a grain of salt, folks, because this is fantasy, this is pretend, this is make-believe, these are the fun questions. If you could own any vehicle featured in a cartoon, which would it be?
Man, the Batmobile would be fun. The Ghostbusters Echo 1 would be fun. I think those are the first 2 that come to mind. I mean, okay, let's go even crazier. A freaking Gundam. Having a Gundam, having just a Gundam machine to cruise around in and rip around in would be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think those are definitely 3 that come to mind.
Cool. If you could live in any cartoon world that you wanted, where would you want to live?
Man. Damn. That's a tough one. I'm going to say something really bonkers, but it would be kind of fun to live in the Pokemon world, just to have those crazy little, creatures that follow you around, kind of like a dog, but you train in different ways to fight. I think that's kind of cool. As stupid as that sounds, it's kind of fun. Anything that has space, so like Gundam going into space, Tailspin would be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Who would be, so you get 3 Toon Pals. So basically, who would be your other 3 Toon Pals to join you in a cartoon quartet?
So I'll go Darkwing Duck, Chip from Chippendales, and Captain Planet.
We need help.
You mean...
Exactly. We must do as Gaia advised. We must combine our powers. Let's do it. Let our powers combine. Earth. Fire.
Wind. Water.
Heart.
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet.
Wow.
This is reminding me of that.
No, I know.
That cartoon, what the hell was that movie called that came out that was all about, like, I remember watching it as a kid. It was like all about drugs, but it had all the Disney characters.
Oh, cartoon, Cool World.
Yeah.
So you said Chip, Captain Planet, and who else? Darkwing?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could get Darkwing to sing as either himself or Tigger, considering who voices him.
Yep. I think it'd be a crazy time. You get Scrappy in there too instead of Darkwing. Try not to go with the obvious ones. I could pick the easy ones, but I think it'd be more fun to make it a little interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so here's hoping your wife doesn't listen to this part of the show, but you're not married, you don't have kids. If you could date any cartoon character, which one would it be?
I'm trying to think of, could be anyone.
Could be anyone.
That's a good question. It's so funny, like kind of ones that come to mind. I'm trying to remember back, like in my childhood, like who would I want to hang out with when I was younger, and man, I don't know why Kim Possible keeps coming to mind, but that's really weird. But there's definitely, like, I don't know why that one like pops in my head, but we'll go with that.
So what's the sitch?
If I can come up with another one, probably should.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. It's a fantasy land. It's a thing of, like, are we going to say this as old people now? No, probably not. It's more like when we were, kids and teenagers, like, So trust me, folks, we're not trying to be creepy old people here. All right, what is the Holy Grail of cartoon artifacts? The Sword of Omens, Matrix of Leadership, the Power Sword, Darkwing's gas gun, etc.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is just T-Man's sword. That's
the Power Sword. Yep.
The Power Sword, right?
Yep.
That would be pretty sick to own.
Yes, it would. All right, we're now exiting the cartoon fantasy land, so...
Hurry, Skeletor, hurry! I am hurrying.
Remember, folks, everything that was just said in these last 5 questions, fictional characters. Okay, last question. What is one piece of advice that you'd give cartoon fandom in general?
I mean, there's a cartoon for everybody, and there's always a message within the cartoon. So, it don't take it at face value at times, and kind of look for the hidden messages and themes. So I think that's what makes it interesting too. On a first watch of something, right? You could think of something was going on, and then all of a sudden, if you kind of really think about it, there's other things that are going on.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's going to do it for us. Would you like to be on the Origins episodes here at ToonCast? Send an email to feedback@geekcastradio.com with the subject line ToonCast Origins Guest Spot. You must have at least 1 year or more of podcast experience, have a good microphone, and be on Zencastr or be on a computer to get the Zencastr link. We're going to take a quick break. You're going to hear some ads and some other stuff, and we will come back to close the show after this.
Like science fiction? Of course you do, or you wouldn't be listening to the Geekcast Radio Network. Well, the Mark Who 42's Universe podcast is an award-winning sci-fi radio show that's been around for over 10 years. We cover everything from Doctor Who to the MCU to pop culture and everything in between. A new show drops on Tuesday mornings on the GCRN website and all of the major podcast platforms. So listen to the Mark Who 42's Universe podcast from the universe and beyond.
Do you like retro cartoons? Then Saturday Morning Rewind is the podcast for you. Join them each month as they talk about classic cartoons and interview legendary voice actors like Jim Cummings.
I am the terror that flaps in the night.
Corey Burton.
Sometimes flies can be so flighty.
Rob Paulson.
Sure, Dwayne, but how are we going to find chaps our size?
Nancy Cartwright and many more.
Eat my shorts.
So grab a bowl of Lucky Charms.
They're magically delicious.
Put on your hammer pants. Go to SaturdayMorningRewind.com. And be prepared to feel like a kid again. Once again, that's SaturdayMorningRewind.com. Saturday Morning Rewind was voted Best Podcast Ever by its host, Tim Nidell. So it's gotta be good.
Hurry, Skeletor, hurry! I am hurrying.
The Powers of Grayskull series has covered every episode of all of the Masters of the Universe cartoons except for 2. Join Optimus Solo and TFG1Mike as they tell tales of Eternia, discover the myths of Etheria, become masters in space, evolve into the Masters of Grayskull, and finally reveal the revelation of Masters of the Universe. We'll also be finding out the origins of how guests got into or out of watching the Masters of the Universe cartoons, and so much more. You can find the podcast at geekcastradio.com and any podcatching client you choose to use. By the power and for the honor of Grayskull, we all have the power.
He-Man! Always He-Man!
What was that universal greeting again? Never mind, I remember.
Ba weep grana, weep ninny bong.
Hey guys, it's Rodimus Primal, and be sure to check out my YouTube channel. Join me as I have Transformers discussions, retrospectives, toy reviews, and more. You can also follow me on Twitter at Rodimus Primal, as well as Facebook and Instagram at Rodimus Primal Show. Transform and roll out, and be sure to check out my content till all are one.
Last big party of the summer, folks. Let's go out with a bang.
Hello, all sentient beings. Want the latest on everything going on in the Transformers multiverse? check out the Transmissions Podcast Network. We've got weekly podcasts covering everything from Alpha Trion to Omega Supreme, from old school G1 all the way up to Cyberverse and beyond. And you don't want to miss Empire of Rust, the world's first and only Transformers live play role-playing game podcast. If you love Transformers, there's something for everyone at transmissionspodcast.com.
Discover a world of vintage and modern toys that's more than meets the eye with the Triple Takeover Toycast.
Hosted by toy writers and photographers Toybox Soapbox, 60 and TF Square 1, this informal and chilled out series of discussions cover everything from vintage Transformers to Mask, Diaclone, Microman and more, be it nostalgic or current.
Whether you're a seasoned collector or a casual robot enthusiast, all are welcome.
Triple Takeover Toycast.
All right, Toonsters, we are back. Do you have anything you would like to say before I start going through the closing, sir?
Feel free to follow me on Twitter at Marty Stoked. I love talking about cartoons, comic books. I do some giveaways every now and again, and I'm a part of the Radiant Black podcast, so if you are reading that, you should check that out as well.
Very cool, very cool. All right, Toonsters, as always, we want to thank you for joining us here on ToonCast. If you'd like to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com, and you can listen to and comment on all of our content. Send us email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. Here are all the ways you can listen to us nowadays: Apple and Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify. You can leave us reviews. Spotify now has star ratings for podcasts, 1 to 5 stars. And, of course, any other podcatching client you choose to use. Follow us on Twitter at GCRN ToonCast and at ToonCast Beyond R for the show. I am at TFG1Mike. You can also follow at GeekCast Radio. Become a fan on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/GeekCast Radio Network. I don't think Bash ever set up a Radiant Black Facebook page. Anyway, you can also find ToonCast All Tunes all the time over there as well. Radiant Black Podcast, Facebook page, I should say. We hope you enjoyed this episode of ToonCast. I wish you'll join us next time. We will be talking about some kind of toony thing. I don't know. For now, I am TFG1Mike with
Marty Stoked, or Marty.
Thank you for listening. Until next time, oh yeah, and unleash the Toon in you.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Beyond good, beyond evil, beyond your wildest imagination.
Or I had them.
Yeah.
I think they were like, maybe $20 or $30 for like the first few seasons.
Yep.
But now, you don't even need that anymore.
Come back to the microphone. Don't walk away.
Oh, it wasn't picking me up?
No. It was. It was very, very background.
Oh, that's weird. I wonder if my headset is only using my headset and not my microphone.
Probably
should have tested that.
Yeah, later.